The narrative begins with a vigilante named Jajal searching for someone in a subway tunnel. His partner asks about any news, but nothing has been seen. Suddenly, his radio communicator fails and loses signal. Jajal becomes frustrated, but what worries him more is a female silhouette passing in the darkness ahead. Curious, believing it to be someone lost, he follows in that direction and calls out to the person. Suddenly, he begins to hear footsteps passing over his head. He starts to panic, fearing something supernatural surrounding him. The apparition appears again behind him, but when he looks, she quickly disappears. Unfortunately, he becomes distracted on the railway line. Then his tragic end is determined when a train strikes him. The scene then cuts to another moment at Guanglin station, and we meet the young woman Kim, a content creator who is recording the location after hearing about mysterious tales surrounding the place. A man suddenly hits the soda machine, which bothers her and makes her step away. She soon goes to the person responsible for the place named Lee and says she was the woman who had previously contacted him to conduct an interview about the mysteries. He takes her to his booth, and Kim shows what she is called in the online world. She has the name the Queen of Terror. Kim then brings up the rumors she has been hearing around the station, and her curiosity led her to check it out closely. She says strange and disturbing things have happened, but they were not reported or alerted to the authorities. This bothers Lee, who asks her to leave the place immediately, stating that people like her have also come to learn about the mysteries, but it is only to profit from the disappearances and deaths that occurred there. Wanting to gain the supervisor's attention, Kim offers the best drink in the region to him, and this quickly changes his mind. She begins recording the audio, and Lee starts the story he knows. One day, a young alcoholic named Tim goes to a store to buy another drink. Then, while enjoying the beverage, he becomes even more delirious. An hour later, inside the train, when the transport suddenly stops, the young man falls. People lift him up and then wait for the journey to resume. Suddenly, Tim wakes up and sees a young woman hitting her head against the glass of the door. He watches the scene in confusion, but prefers not to interfere. Minutes later, he wakes up and sees that the woman is still performing the same action of tapping her head on the glass of the door. After the second-to-last stop, Tim is alone along with an older man and the woman. When the stranger hits the glass harder, the young man becomes tense at the woman's action. Seeing the unusual scene, the old man moves to the other carriage. Shortly after, Tim becomes concerned and follows the man. He smiles at what he just witnessed and calls the woman disturbed. At that moment, he receives a call from his mother, questioning his absences from university. Suddenly, the call loses signal and disconnects. On the cell phone, a message appears reporting that a young woman ended her life 2 years ago at Guanglin station. Something mysterious, since it is the same scene he is seeing at this exact moment. Looking at the older man, Tim notices that he has begun to hit his head against the carriage. Tim is frightened when suddenly the young woman appears in the glass of the door of his carriage. The train accelerates and the lights fail until they turn off. When he turns on the flashlight, he sees no one there anymore. He is astonished, but again the woman appears in the same manner. Tim panics and is paralyzed, remaining on the floor until the woman breaks the glass in front of him and her head falls at his feet. Thus, when the headless body chases him, he screams but soon wakes up inside the empty carriage without the woman. However, he notices the old man sitting at the back. Tim is confused and frightened, so he decides to get off at the next stop. Believing it to be the effect of the drink, he decides to wait for the next train, but just ahead he discovers that he is at the station where the young woman ended her life. Suddenly, and unexpectedly, Tim hears a banging similar to what he witnessed earlier. When he looks back, he sees the woman hitting her head against the platform wall. Not believing the terrifying scene, he turns in shock, but soon the young woman appears very close behind him, chilling Tim's body completely. Suddenly, the cameras show the young man throwing himself onto the tracks, thus making another victim at the station. Back in Lee's booth, he states that for many it was considered suicide, but he knows that something intriguing and macabre is happening there. After the tale, he asks Kim to leave. The young woman asks him to take her to the place, but the man orders her never to return to the station. The next day, Kim is at work, and we meet her friend Woojin, who asks about her research. Kim says they may have an attractive story for the public, so she will continue seeking more content about the mysterious case. Upon hearing about the theme of the video, Lena, Another colleague interrupts them and confronts whether the story will generate engagement and views, claiming that Kim's previous stories did not receive admiration from the audience. Woojin defends his friend, who becomes irritated with the frustrations and negativity coming from her colleague. The next day, Kim schedules another meeting with Lee, who accepts the visit. Since he knows that the young woman is not seeking to become famous with the videos, she only wishes to maintain her means of survival, her channel Queen of Terror, which previously had many followers, but after ending the horror tales, people stopped following her. Believing that the story told by him can help her, Lee drinks more of the beverage brought by Kim and decides to tell more. He begins the new story stating that there was a woman who went through much pain due to a problem on her face. Suddenly, the train malfunctions and stops on the tunnel tracks. There is also a beautiful young woman named Myung, who admired her face while looking at a poster. Meanwhile, the disfigured woman watched her attentively. Noticing the stares, the young Myung moves away and ends up meeting an old friend who had feelings for him. However, at the next stop, his girlfriend enters, and the encounter makes her uncomfortable. She ends up getting off the train, lamenting what could have been one day. Myung then waits for the next train to arrive at the upper station. By coincidence, the woman with bandages covering her face appears and praises the young woman for having a beautiful face. Myung thanks her, but the woman continues to say the same compliment several times, with a frightening smile stamped on her face. Worried, the young woman moves away from the woman. The woman disappears from sight for a moment, but soon Myung finds her behind the column, watching her closely. The stranger acts in a macabre manner, twisting her body, and remains standing in front of Myung, and people pass by her without noticing her. When the young woman stops looking, the woman walks and approaches her even more. Myung takes her phone to record who is following her, but the device does not capture the woman's image. Suddenly, the disfigured woman drops the liquid from the cup she was carrying, showing that it is corrosive acid. In panic, Myung runs through the station and goes down again to the lower station of Guanglin, where she loses sight of the woman. Frightened, she runs to the bathroom and hides. She tries to call the police, but there is no one available. Suddenly, the call is answered, and a woman speaks with Myung. She asks what the woman who is chasing her looks like, but before she can say, Myung realizes she did not say it was a woman. Suddenly, the call drops and the woman appears, opening the door, showing her ugly and disfigured face. The woman's hand appears over the stall where Myung is and pours the liquid over the young woman's face. Back to Lee, he observes that Kim does not believe him, but she questions where or from whom he heard these stories. There is no time for him to tell, since the drink took effect and made him lie down to sleep. Without permission, Kim goes down to the station to record the opening of her channel and perhaps find something that confirms the horror tales. She records the opening of her video and is together with her assistant. She is already in character, the Queen of Terror. The next day, she asks her friend Woojin what he thought of the opening. But when the young man watches the video, he notices something terrifying. They observe that the cameras captured a silhouette of what appears to be a person watching them. Upon seeing this, Kim takes the images to Lee. She questions if the man had ever witnessed something similar before, but he says no. Soon he tells about another story. One day, a homeless man was awakened at the station, and they asked him to go to another place. He stood up and checked his coins to buy something. Not having enough, he searched for more coins in the corners to gather with the ones he had. However, he finds a red-colored coin, and instead of using it, he goes to the bathroom and admires the metal. When he was washing his face, another man approaches him, an old acquaintance from the streets, but he is a thief, and without consideration, steals the coins, but leaves behind the red coin. The homeless man becomes indignant and reflects on the evil he will do the next time he finds the thief. Something catches his attention. A man is on the other side of the train line, appearing to be drunk. However, before he does anything, the soda machine makes a noise, and by coincidence, it matches the red coin. He soon buys a drink, but when he opens it, there is nothing inside the container. When he turns his attention back to the man, he sees only his clothes on the ground. When he approaches the place, he also finds coins and decides to see what he finds inside the clothes. Having money in the wallet, he takes it for himself, and after putting on the elegant clothes, he goes to the station convenience store to eat something. While he enjoys the food, he notices that he still has coins and decides to return to the soda machine. However, when buying another one, he is surprised by the thief. Terrified, he decides to open the can, believing that something supernatural happens when he does so. Soon, when the thief approaches him, something disturbing happens. The man barely begins to have parts of his body disappearing, first the legs and then the arms. The scene leaves the homeless man terrified, and even more so when the thief's complete body disappears before his eyes. Suddenly, the man appears inside the soda machine screaming in despair. On the other hand, near his clothes 3 more coins appear. This fact is intriguing, but it seems that as soon as the homeless man opens a soda can, a person disappears before him and strange coins appear for him. However, not only that, more amounts of money also appear for him. Knowing that something supernatural happens when he does this, but wealth appears for him, the homeless man begins opening sodas in front of people, and then they are transported into the machine. Seeing the opportunity for wealth, greedily, he continues doing this several times, hiding the people's clothes so that nothing would be suspected. Many coins appeared for him, and he ended up changing his personality completely. Now he acts as if money will never run out, and he can choose his victims. On another night of his actions, he is heading to his rest, but this time he notices something strange and confusing. Looking to the other side of the station, he sees himself in the soda machine and begins to feel sick. He screams not to open the can, but doing the opposite, he disappears. Now he sees himself trapped inside the machine and discovers that the device shreds and devours its victims. This is a version told by Lee to justify the many clothes found at Guanglin station. After a few minutes, Kim falls asleep, and Lee covers her. Then he goes to his room. A week after Kim posted on her social media the stories that Lee told, she has dinner with Woojin, who congratulates her for it working and says he likes her, but this is only a dream. She wakes up at work and notices that Lena is approaching Woojin, something that makes her sad. Moments later, she is with Lee again, showing her frustrations because nothing is working out. Lee comforts her, saying that people must be content with what they already have, because when trying to conquer what they lack or what does not belong to them, they risk losing everything they already have. He says that his days are numbered because he has a malignant problem in his body, so Kim must stop seeing him. The next day, when she goes to work, she is surprised by all her colleagues, who congratulate her for the weekly viewing record, thanks to the tales she published. Hours later, Kim looks at the comments on her videos, and one of them states that she went to the macabre station and felt strange things, and asks that no one go to the place, because she believes in the stories told. Curious to know more, Kim invites the woman to a meeting. The next day, she sits with Tina, who asks Kim to remove her videos, claiming that the world cannot know the stories of the place. The young woman says that everything is connected with the Guanglin sect. Kim says that such group disappeared a long time ago, a fact that is confirmed. However, Guanglin station was built over the ruins of the church of the Guanglin sect. For Tina, this is the reason why so many sinister things have been happening at the station. Kim is confused by what the young woman says and questions her about it. Tina says that she had an incident at the station some time ago which cost her an eye. The woman asks Kim not to go, stating that if they go there, everyone will die. Suddenly, behind Kim appears a macabre entity with a goat skull, which terrifies Tina before disappearing. In panic, the woman runs away. After the meeting with Tina, Kim is returning to the company floor and researches about the Guanglin sect. In the report, it says that 50 years ago, on October 3, 1973, there was a mass suicide among the participants of the Guanglin sect inside the church in Seoul, which was marked in history because for the faithful it would grant immortality to their leader. After the end of the workday, when she is at her desk looking at her video platform, Kim reflects on what Tina said and considers deleting the videos. Suddenly, a noise comes from the room next door, and then she goes to check. Peeking into the room, she notices that Lena kisses the man that one day Kim desired. Frustrated, she leaves the office and goes home. The next day, she confronts her friend about the previous night, which he denies, stating he was elsewhere. Being sure of what she saw, she refuses his invitation to dinner and leaves his presence. The scene changes to Lena, who records her content that generates greater engagement. Careless, She loses balance and grabs a hand support, which is smeared with a strange slime. Later, while talking with Woojin, the young man notices that her nose is bleeding. Fearful, she goes to clean herself in the bathroom. At that moment, she notices that a strange mark appeared on her hand. Hours later, when she is returning home, she tries to stop the drops of blood coming from her nose, but soon she notices that the marks on her hand have increased. The train stops at Guanglin station, and Lena quickly goes to the bathroom to hide, believing that if people saw that, it would destroy her image and reputation. Unfortunately, it is becoming horrible, and the marks take over her whole body, and plants grow over her skin. The scene cuts to minutes later, where we see the young woman's face covered with flowers. Back to Lee's booth, Kim asks him about the Guanglin chapel and about the leader of the sect, since rumors also said that he would still be alive. Lee calmly asks if she wishes to see him, and Kim remains silent. Lee says that at a certain hour of the dawn, a train will pass by the closed station of Guanglin. It will stop, and if she enters, she may meet him. In the office, police investigators search for Kim after seeing her videos, but she did not go to work. They inform that the station chief has been different since the day his co-worker disappeared. Later, at dawn, we see Kim at the station alone, waiting for the exact time Lee said, 3:34. Kim, waiting for the train, hears the sound of footsteps over the ceiling. Suddenly, the lights turn on, and she finds a man sitting alone on one of the benches. She is astonished at the scene, seeing the man paralyzed with his cell phone. Something terrifying, since it is the same man from the beginning. The stranger does not move, even when his cat meows growling inside the bag. The train then arrives, but only she enters. The young woman looks outside, seeing the man still standing, but when she turns her gaze inside, she is frightened to see him inside, this time looking at her. Kim is frightened by the man, so she stands up and moves away. Surprisingly, the stranger stands up and follows her. Kim begins to panic. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the man is no longer there. The train stops, and she quickly exits. Soon she realizes she is at an isolated point of the tracks near the station. When she was going to climb the stairs, she sees a man walking in the darkness. Suddenly, an old train appears at the place, and she enters. There is a radio communicator on the floor of the train, and when Kim turns on the signal, Lee's voice speaks with her. At this moment, we are taken to the beginning of the narrative. The vigilante was sent by Lee to check the tunnels of the station, and when he was doing the inspection, Lee tried to communicate with him about something he saw, but the radio lost signal. Then a voice says that it was very hot where he was. Fearing for his friend's safety, Lee goes down and goes himself to check. Suddenly, a light emerges behind him. When he turns, he sees the old train that appeared unexpectedly at the place. Lee enters to see if his friend was there. However, inside the carriage, he is frightened when someone knocks on the glass windows. Suddenly, the handle of the pilot cabin door begins to move. When Lee goes to check if there is someone inside, he is surprised to see no one. Suddenly, the door is closed, leaving him trapped inside. Then the locomotive begins to move quickly, and Lee cannot stop it. Desperate, he forces the door until it opens. When the passage is freed, Lee returns to the carriage. He observes ancient writings spread throughout the train, painted in red. Lee panics, feeling trapped in a place that begins to heat up and melt the soles of his sneakers. He repeats the same words he heard earlier, something confusing to understand. Sheltering above the seats, he is startled by several hands hitting the windows, people screaming in agony. He then activates the emergency brake, and when the train stops, Lee realizes that he is inside another locomotive. However, he is trapped. His partner communicates again by radio, seeing him from afar, says he is on the way. Lee looks through the windows and sees his friend, but he is standing still in the external darkness. Suddenly, the truth is revealed. The vigilante is dead, and only his head is there, held by someone without a face. Suddenly, the train becomes the old one again and moves once more. This time, hands attack the man, knock him down and drag him into the darkness. Back to the present, Lee appears outside smiling and soon transforms into Kim, showing that all this time it was something beyond comprehension and not the real Lee. Kim is locked inside the locomotive and taken to an unknown destination. Meanwhile, at Guanglin station, Woojin is searching for his friend. knowing that she would come to the place, but he did not find her there. However, after a few minutes of waiting, and in this final moment, Kim appears with a closed expression. Woojin approaches Kim, wanting to know where she has been, but she only smiles, confirming to the narrative that the entity invoked by the sacrifice of the Guanglin sect is now herself.